Baba.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Babaini Baba, the master storyteller of Nigeria land. My name is Babaini Baba. Today, I'm going to be telling you the concluding part of the story I started on the last episode, the story of Biafra. For those of you who didn't get an opportunity to join us on that story, you can visit our pages, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok to watch the beginning part of this story. But I'm going to be taking you on an astral travel today to round off what is known today as the Biafran War. By the year 1970, the writing was already on the wall. Biafra was no longer the mighty nation it had once dreamed of becoming. The starvation had taken its toll. The Nigerian military, now fully armed and with the backing of international powers, advanced with ruthless efficiency. The last bastions of resistance crumbled one by one. And then, General Ojukwu the Lion, the man who had stood against the world, fled into exile. The collapse of Biafra was not just a military defeat, it was the death of a dream that once burned so bright, now reduced to ashes. But the pain did not end there. Everyone who had earlier followed the breath of the warlord Ojukwu and now his whispers had moved the farthest mountains to run. Will have never imagined that a day will come that the mighty will crush all in a sudden. But for the many blood that flooded the streets like an endless river, the government in power had tamed the venom of the spring of war that was meant to be the beginning of a freedom fight. The words of the wise that said, "We'll live to fight another day," steadily penetrated the mind of the warlord, General Ojukwu, and he fled to Côte d'Ivoire in January of 1970. That was indeed a record-breaking day as Ojukwu's second in command, General Philip Effiong, bravely took over and turned the wave of the rage. With the many threats and rumors of a terrible end to Ojukwu, if captured, Ojukwu knew that a quick shift was needed. Hence, on January 11th, 1970, he handed power to Philip Effiong to avoid capture and allowed a negotiation surrender instead of humiliation and a brutal treatment from the Nigerian government. All odds were against them in this battle, and so he helplessly declared a ceasefire and formally surrendered Biafra to Nigeria. This was a drastic, unplanned, unimagined end to the roar of the dreaded Biafra soldiers who had sworn to fight till freedom was assured. For each slain man, they had gathered more courage and strength to press on till their mandate was granted. But with this declaration, they only became helpless with an angry and unsatisfied spirit. Their doggedness had to yield to the voice of reasoning that called for an end to the civil war, thereby reintegrating the region into the country. The Biafra great leaders and hero, Ojukwu, remained in exile for over a decade. No one knew exactly where he was or his next line of action or thoughts, as his exile was never anticipated. Yet, he had to strategically remain in exile as he was granted asylum by President Felix Boigny in 1982. The Nigerian government granted Ojukwu an unconditional pardon, allowing his return as a private citizen, where he later re-entered into politics. Everything that has a beginning will surely have an end. Yet, it was quite difficult to believe that the foremost unending rage the doggedness to fight till the last blood drops, the pursuit of freedom which was accompanied with vows like no retreat, no surrender, the daily war and bloodshed that took place for 30 months with whole world watching with keen interest could come to an end in one day. The echoes of Ojukwu's constant voice: we are not fighting for territorial gain, but for the survival of our people. The heat of each day, the battered soldiers, the slain soldiers, the thirst, the hunger, the cry of mothers for the death of their sucking child, the vengeful horror that dictated the countenance of each fighting soldier in what became the Nigerian Civil War was called off as Effiong announced a ceasefire on January the 12th, and Biafra officially surrendered on January the 15th, 1970. As painful and fearful as the need to surrender was, each soldier's fate was hinged on the negotiation which paved way for an integration and reconciliation on the part of the government. General Yakubu Gowon maintained a policy of no victor, no vanquished, to promote unity and to properly integrate all the former Biafran states back into Nigeria. As the Nigerian proverb says, when the moon is shining, the crippled beggar sees the path. The Biafran struggle for independence may have ended, but its legacy lives on, a beacon of hope for a people who refuse to be silenced. The Nigerian Civil War may be a chapter in history books, but its impact still resonates up till today. As the great African writer Chinua Achebe once said, the story of Biafra is a story of human condition, a story of struggle, of pain, and of hope. Ojukwu's words echoed through the ages, a reminder of the sacrifice made for a dream that refused to die. So, the echoes of Biafra continues to shape Nigeria's narrative, a reminder that the struggle for unity, justice, and equality is far from over. As I say, the story is not over, it is just the beginning. Yes, indeed, it's the beginning of many great journeys, a reflection for many generations. Thank you for joining me today. My name remains Babaini Baba, the master storyteller of Nigeria land. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok if you have not done that before. And thank you for always sharing and watching our content. We'll see you next time, and bye for now.